Dr. Berry, I know you quite well from my own experiences in medical school, so it's a real treat for me to be able to interview you here on the big data stage. So I'm very curious, with your background in global health, what do you think is the role that big data has to play on the global platform?
Well, I think first of all, it's a very exciting conference to be at. I think big data is clearly quite important these days to actually get a larger picture of population health. What I'm concerned about and would love to see happen is some of this big data surveillance happen in developing countries in underserved areas. In particular, sub-Saharan Africa, or for those bottom billion of people that just don't have the kinds of things that we have.
Right. And what are some of the major roadblocks to that happening right now?
Well, I think one of the roadblocks is money, but I also think it's attention. I think we can learn a lot from that setting. Here at Stanford, we work on extremely affordable global health solutions and putting them out in the field. And actually, we learn quite a bit from our partners about reverse innovation or frugal innovation or
Right.
cost-effective innovation. So I think that can be applied.
Right. And once we do get that data, what sorts of things do you think we'll learn from doing this research in developing countries?
Well, if you had all followed the panel that I was on the infectious disease panel, I thought it was fascinating that we're learning about all this big data within our bodies, the microbiome, as well as big data outside of our bodies. And it's really very interesting to think about where the real pathogens and dangers are to our survival as a human race. So I actually think that kind of big data has a lot to offer us from an infectious disease point of view.
Right.
I also think that, there's been a lot of talk nowadays about what's killing folks around the world, and that 2/3 of the mortality of the world are due to non-communicable diseases. And I don't know if you saw my panel, but I tried to emphasize that many of these non-communicable diseases, like cancer, are actually caused by infectious diseases, such as liver cancer and hepatitis B, cervical cancer and human papillomavirus, even lymphomas, even as I tried to, lymphomas with EBV, but I even tried to bring up the fact that obesity may have to do with the microbiome in our body, the actual bacteria that are in our body.
So really the lines between infectious disease and non-communicable disease are becoming increasingly blurred.
Absolutely.
Right.
Which is actually encouraging because we know how to treat
Exactly.
infectious diseases. That doesn't mean that we should ignore behavioral risks, because actually non-communicable disease is a terrible name, because even if it's not an infectious disease, many of those diseases have to do with risky behaviors, like behaviors that are communicable, like smoking, like eating the wrong kinds of food.
Right.
That those are factors that are very communicable, risky
Right.
behaviors.
And going back to the big data question I asked you earlier, how do you think we can draw the attention to the lack of funding and the lack of kind of support for developing big data research in developing countries?
One of the responsibilities of this conference is to think of ways that this big data can be applied in a very pragmatic fashion that can actually make a difference in health. And I think that's what everyone's sort of struggling with now. We're generating tremendous amount of data with computers and many of the interesting ways that have been described at this conference. But then once you generate this data, how do you apply it so it can be preventive in health? And not just personalized about me, but personalized about a large population.
Right.
It's one of my things that I worry about this conference, that it's very about, much of it is about personalized medicine. I'd like to see it more about preventive medicine for large populations.
Right.
So to use that large data in a more directed fashion.
I mean, I appreciate hearing these concerns of yours. We've heard from many opinions from many of the experts in this field, and I really respect your opinion as well. So
Oh, no, it's my pleasure.
thank you very much for your time, Dr. Berry.
Oh,
it was
a pleasure.
great to speak with
and
you.
I'm so glad to see that you've done so well, Joyce.
Thank you.
Take care.